Hi, my name's Dan Keane. I'm a composer, producer and musician based in London. Welcome to 2021. Happy New Year. I hope you had a really lovely holiday. Time to recharge, get back into the chaos. Does it feel that different to 2020? Because at least for us here in the UK, we've just started our third lockdown. So the pandemic is still very much going and we'll see even fewer people than we did before. But I have high hopes for this new year. I do feel like 2021 will be a thing of new beginnings, of kind of exciting times. We won't take advantage or take things for granted that were once kind of commodities. And music will definitely be one of those things. I think people will really kind of go out and see as many gigs as they can when they can. And I feel the same for films as well. You know, there are lots of films that are delayed at the moment, but excited about the new year. Right. Now, I started this year with 4,318 subscribers, which is very exciting. Thank you to anyone who's new here. I'm really excited that you're here. And, it gave me some time over the holiday to really sit back and think about what it is I want to do differently this year, the various new ideas and kind of avenues that I want to explore, but also how I can improve my filmmaking, my storytelling, this weird skill that us YouTubers have developed by proxy of just making videos. One thing is production value. I just bought a nice new lens and that's always exciting. But beyond that, I think if I can become a better storyteller, then I will be more efficient in delivering whatever it was I set out to do in this episode. Now, during the break, I was really good. I took a solid week away from all music, all cameras, and I watched a great series, which I've been meaning to watch for a while, a fantastic thriller drama called Killing Eve. Now, this is a BBC drama. It's got Sandra Oh and Jodie Comer in it. Fantastic characters, fantastic story, and fantastic music. Really, really great score by the band Unloved. And what I didn't realise until later was that this music was composed like 8 years before the script ever kind of hit the hands of the actors. So what's really exciting when that happens is that the music just syncs so perfectly with the story. This slightly kind of psychopathic character called Villanelle, who's played by Jodie Comer. She's an assassin who is being followed by Eve Polastri, played by Sandra Oh, and she's sort of a member of MI5, which is like the sort of British Secret Service, I suppose. Now, what I loved about this music was not only how moody and raw and just badass it was, but how you really could feel as if it was recorded in one space. It sounded like a band in a live band room. Now, I'm going to leave a link down below to a playlist, a Spotify playlist of all the music that was featured in the show. If you haven't seen it, watch it. And if you have listened to it, but you forgot to think about the music, go check out the soundtrack. It's really worth listening to. Now, I think this is particularly pertinent for now because obviously during a pandemic, we can't all be in the same rooms recording with each other. So we send things that were recorded remotely and then try and use reverb to make it sound like it was in the same space. So I'm going to explore some techniques today, some plug-in options, and then also some physical things that I can do to make things sound as if they're in more of a shared live space. And I'm going to write a piece of music that is sort of inspired by Unloved, but is more inspired by this live acoustic sound. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to play you the track that I've got written at the moment. This is sort of like a verse-chorus type thing, but I'm just going to show you the first verse for now. Sounds pretty cool. I'm just going to quickly run through the instruments I've got playing. So this is the Bass Untamed by Westwood Instruments. More from them coming soon. They're working on some exciting things that I'm about to review in a few weeks. This is just a kind of simple bass upright sound. You'll notice it sounds quite close. I've chosen the close microphones specifically to use for this example. We've then got this East-West Hofner 63 bass. Also sounds very dry. And then we've got a couple of instances of keyscape here. So this is the Wurlitzer 200A going through the Drip plugin by Kyle Beats. So if you've listened to any of the Unloved music, you'll hear that there are often uses of reverb, but that isn't necessarily the thing that makes it sound like it's in a room together, if you see what I mean. So this is the kind of sound that you might get out of a keyboard. And then I've got this crunchy Rhodes with a classic amp, and I'm also using the Decapitator plugin as well, just to give it a little bit of crunch underneath. And then these two unknown pads here are my Contact DK Basic Backdrops patches from Piano Book, which I'll leave linked down below. I've got this going through the Drip plugin and then also using the LFO tool, which gives you that slightly pumping sidechain kind of feel to it. I've also done another version of this, but doing a more kind of oscillating background. Then we've got this live drum sound here by the, this is the Get Good Drums Matt Halpern set. Now I'm only using the overhead mics here. It was recorded in quite a big room, but I don't want it to sound reverberant from the beginning. So I'm using just the overhead mics and the close mics, so the kick drum, snare drum mics. I'm using the Drip plugin here on the actual instrument and then also on the bus that it's in. I'll show you more about the bus in a minute, but it would actually sound like this. So this just kind of lowers the formant slightly. Next, we've got some percussion. These are just basic Logic loops. And then we've got my Thrumming Textures electric guitar, which is available again for free down below. Okay, so when we combine that all together, we get this. Okay, I'm going to endeavour to make my own reverb sound by starting by actually recording the reverb within this room. So I'm going to set up a speaker, one of my monitors here. This is an old Genelec speaker, but it will do the job. And I'm going to get another microphone on the other side of the room. And the idea is I'm just going to record the sound of the speaker playing each element in turn. I've seen this happen many times. Abbey Road has a whole reverb chamber designed for this exact thing. So this isn't necessarily a new idea, but it's certainly new to me. So let's get on and record that. Okay, so here are my recordings. We've got drums, basses, keys, and synths. And I've started by just sort of panning them one way and the other to give a little bit more space because I was recording this with a mono microphone. If I just compare that with the actual instruments. Now what's quite interesting here is I had the metronome playing at the beginning because if you see here, this is how much it was delayed. If I push this back to the beat here, it's really, really lagging behind. I think sound does move very slowly, but I didn't realize it moved that slowly. So I'm just going to line this up now so that it's sort of bang in tune, bang in time with what we've already got. But you could always push this back and use that as a sort of pre-delay. Now, I don't know about you, but I am really impressed by how kind of ambient that sounds. I'm not sure if it sounds like it's all in the same room yet, but I guess there's enough chaos in there to make it sound at least a little bit more realistic. However, I wouldn't say that that's an optimal solution. I'm not going to get a microphone out and record the reverb tail of my studio every time I come to write a piece of music. So now I want to see whether or not I can create that same effect, but using plugins, using alternative means. So I have a few ideas, and then we can see whether everything together sounds good. The first idea I have is using, I mentioned it earlier, is that Abbey Road have their very own reverb chamber, and Waves have actually gone and modelled the sound of this. So what I've got here is this plugin. I thought I'd buy it, see what it's all about. And I'm using this stone room here, which sort of tries to replicate the sound of a speaker at one end and your microphones at the other. So I've kind of just put this in, experimented with the sound a little bit, and then I've used different send amounts to give it the sense of kind of what it would feel like in the room. So if I just show you what this sounds like on its own. Okay, so the first thing we've got here is a CLA 76. This is a compressor that I'm using just to kind of soften the transient slightly on the way in. I'm then EQing, I'm kind of pulling out some of those low frequencies because I want it to sound a little bit more kind of mid-range. So I'm hoping that's going to help with that. And then I've got this Aphex Vintage Aural Exciter, also from Waves, which is something that I've been playing around with recently, and I really like the sound of it. It helps to brighten up the sound, but it's not just an EQ. It has some kind of analog emulation in there as well. I'm not quite sure how it works. The way I've done this is I've tried to make it sound as if it's in the room. So I've blended it with different ascend amounts that would reverberate more loudly in a room. So the drums, you'll notice, are particularly loud. But I think it would sound like that if you were in kind of a live space. If I now unsolo this and then just bring it in slowly, you'll hear the effect it has. Now, if I just compare that chamber sound to the live sound I've got, it'd be interesting to see the difference. So I think this one sounds a little bit more kind of defined. I can hear things a little bit more clearly. I haven't actually done any processing on this at all, but what I might do is just sort of maybe EQ it a little bit. So I might kind of pull out the kind of bottom and the top. So it sounds pretty similar. I don't mind the sound of this chamber. I think it sounds pretty good with it. Now, I mentioned a couple of other little things that you can do to make things sound a bit more realistic, and I'm going to show you them now. These are the different effects that I've put on my drums to give it a little bit more weight. The first thing is this free plugin here called Subkick 10 Simulator. This is by Waves Factory. It's a free plugin. I'll leave it linked down below. Very simply, it helps to kind of emulate the sound of a subkick, which is traditionally a kind of a speaker that's been repurposed into a microphone. Now it sounds a little bit buzzy here because I've got it going through the drip, but if I turn that off, you can kind of hear the weight behind it. Now the reason I've added that is because I feel like it will help to give a bit more of the kind of the shake of a room. So that's why I've done that. The second thing here is another free plugin, and it's called Snare Buzz. This is also by Waves Factory, and very simply, it's designed to emulate the sound of a snare buzz. Now, I haven't split off these drums, so the processing is going all the way through it, but I feel like this will make it sound slightly more realistic because you're going to start to hear the artifacts of the other instruments having an impact on the snare sound. Next, I've got this Aphex Exciter again, just to give it a little bit more life. And this really does make a difference on the drums. And finally, to help tie it all together, I'm going to use this 1 second plate reverb here. So this is the little plate by Sound Toys, just 1 second, but it helps to give a little bit more sense of space. So if I just show you what this sounds like with and without all those extra effects, this is without. So a few little things there that might help you to kind of tie things together a little bit better. Now, one other plugin that I want to experiment with today is called Virtual Soundstage 2, and it's by a company called Parallax Audio. Now, this isn't the cheapest plugin by any means, but it is really, really clever. Basically, what it does is it sort of designs a room for you. So you place your sound source wherever it is you want it to go, and then it does it for you, and it sort of takes the guesswork out of panning and things like that. You can have it kind of pointing in a different direction, you can experiment with different rooms and different microphones and things like that. So I'm going to try applying this preset now, and in fact, to make things a little bit quicker, a little bit easier, I'm going to group some of these tracks together. So let's start with this track. I'm going to take this into Virtual Soundstage and I'm just going to push it back a bit, and you'll hear the difference. Now, I don't really like the sound of it hitting the back of the wall, so I'm actually going to pull down this early reflection. So it's a subtle thing, but it helps just to give a little bit more space. You'd then use this with a reverb, so it's not designed to replace it, it's more to go in conjunction with it. Let's just do the same thing on these oscillating backdrops. And now let's see what it sounds like on the basses. I can't imagine it will sound that nice, but let's have a look. I'm just going to copy this across, and then what's nice is you can have several instances built into the same kind of plugin here, and you can actually move your effects around. So it's particularly good for orchestral music. Okay, let's just see how that sounds and if it makes a difference. I'm going to have the chamber turned on as well. I think it makes a difference. I think it makes it slightly softer sounding. I'm now just going to experiment with having the live faded in as well and see if that makes any difference. Thank you so much for watching until the end. I hope you found these things to be useful today. If you did, please click thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't done already. Loads of really exciting things to come. I'm so excited for 2021. Let's make it a great year. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.